Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Tuesday, the 8th of November. Looking at the news impact or events that we got coming today. Well, we've got inflation expectations already come out for New Zealand. Aside of that, it really is a quiet day, a quietish day in terms of speakers, etc. According to this, at least. We've got a couple of speakers. No significant news there now. Just going to click onto this different news service, and there are a number of speakers coming out through this morning. Reserve Bank of Australia, etc. Bank of England, Peel. We've already got ECB de Guindos speaking. I'm probably pronounced that completely wrong, but anyway, sorry, apologies, has been speaking this morning. Yeah, there's as I say, little. The big thing is the inflation on Thursday, so it's going to be a sort of a build up running into that. Okay, let's get on and look at the markets, and we'll start off with Euro, take it in its normal order, and run through these markets. So we started off with it started off and ended up with quite a bullish day yesterday. Continuation of this move. We're seeing a retracement at the moment, but I do wonder whether we've got some more legs in this market. It's getting into that sort of each way land. It could go either way. Some of the time from where it's sitting, it may be just consolidating through. I'm actually going to pop the trend line where, well, it's not a puckered trend line, but it will do for a moment. In terms of that is a low, but not a confirmed higher low or whatever for the trend. The original one still runs up here. Anyway, just coming down the time frames here, and we're seeing this sort of correction. We have the potential, if it rolls completely over, for a hit back to that weekly, and it gives us a target later. But I'm just looking at where we're sitting at the moment. It's barely back to, or it's almost back to its daily pivot here. I'm really looking at this sort of movement that we've had. We have put a lower high in at the beginning of the day there, so there's some cracks in the upper movement, but cracks through the Asian session as opposed to through London sort of European session. I'd be paying a lot more attention to. So we could see a reversal. Price is sitting. The white line I've got on here is the 1-to-1 side of things, so a break back above that, and a break my little old flaggy sort of pattern. It's sort of sitting here. It's a bit of an ugly flag, but anyway, this upward movement, we certainly got higher lows running through this, or have had. A break of that, well, would be much more bullish for me. I'd be looking at the bullish side. Sentiment on the euro is remaining as quite bullish, and right the way through. Morning, Ian. So some bullish sentiment kicking out there on the bigger traders. Of course, now it's starting to push up. We'll see the retail market start selling it, of course. Pound, similar picture here really, so similar ideas in terms of what's actually happening. It has got a higher low through on its 4-hourly time frame. Again, we put that sort of little lower high on the daily here, and waiting for a similar thing really, just waiting to see its reaction as a pivot. Break through the pivot on either this or the euro could see further downside. The pound has already gone through its weekly pivot quite strongly. I mean, yesterday it just shot up in that sort of first hour, and then we spent most of the day doing nothing. It's twiddling along until it sort of got a kicker around about 5 o'clock. Now, retracement from here, as I said, if we get a bounce off the daily pivot, and a break of this trend line, I'd be looking on the long side. Dollar yen. remains in the sort of no man's land, choppy either side of things here on the dailies. It's still in this sort of range that's kicking there. The longer it sort of sits in this area, the more I think it's going to roll at some stage, or has the potential to roll. I've just redrawn the trend line across the lows here, and this probably is a bit of a near-term line in the sand if it starts rolling off. It's already through its daily pivot. It's into its 60-minute 50 at this stage. Again, really looking at the reversals. A lot of people will be looking to possibly buy it, but as I say, I prefer the sort of looking at the continuation of the bigger movement at the moment. I just pop that trend line across from these 2 points here, near-term points, and well, it comes with a 50 roughly, doesn't it? So a lot of these things are never completely clear. It hasn't closed above that area yet. If it closed above 50, it might be a bit more bullish for the day. But I'll leave that for a moment. Aussie dollar. The Aussie dollar, again, it never had the legs yesterday. Where's the other markets? We saw the momentum pushing through. This had its little gap down on the close there. Found the weekly pivot, pushed up, but never managed to break through. Commodity market, this is the same with the CAD actually. It hadn't moved through yet. Still got scope to do so. I think if the other markets run through, it's got the potential, and maybe up to its weekly R1 at some stage. However, the more it rolls as it has, and you see the lower high area which we've seen in the pound and the euro, this is much lower. It's relatively, it's quite subtle. It's just looking a tad softer at the moment. Canadian dollar is almost an inversion of that. US dollar, Canadian dollar, never managed to break the lows yet, but it's sort of still sitting around that sort of area. Now it does have the weekly pivot above, which could still of course be a draw. It's untouched this week, so it could be a draw. It really went into a chop here. The only thing I would say for the benefits of the downside, if we do get a reversal this morning, it starts moving, the amount of taps it sort of knocked around this lower area, chances are at some stage it will break through, but of course it's got to get down there again. But it does look a tad on the softer side. Okay, looking across into the world of commodities, we just have a look at gold and oil as usual. And well, gold couldn't even end up on a positive day yesterday. It shows you the weakness that really sits through it in the bigger scheme of things. Yes, it had a good end of last week there, pushing through up and taking out some prior highs. Very defined double top into yesterday, and again this one, it's got the lower high in. And it just looks like it's on for this weekly pivot at some stage, potentially. Now again, like everything else, if we see a turnaround, it might jump on the bandwagon and push up. Then we could see it pushing back up to these prior highs. It's all very fitting. That's certainly very fitting with what's going on. Gold, oil yesterday, same case here. It just pushed up there and ended up back down for the day a little bit. So just lacking the momentum. However, we've still got the higher lows through there. We could see it continue later today. It did fire off yesterday afternoon. Come 2 o'clock, we started seeing it pushing up there, retesting and pushing and going. So it did actually go in its own sort of session. I would be more bullish above the sort of, on my chart, which is shown at 92.15. As I say, you'd have to look at your Western Texas and see where it fits for you. Okay, but I remain erring on the bullish side. It does have that weekly pivot below, which of course could be a draw if it does continue to sell off here. Maybe there's an element of weakness in what with yesterday's spinning top candle there. Right, switching markets is just a quick look at the crypto side of things. And well, this is a bit of a surprise, really. I suppose Friday was okay. Saturday, Sunday on Bitcoin, as I mentioned yesterday, came off, but it came straight off here yesterday. The crypto Bitcoin, and we saw it quite through a few, and that's just, to me, it's actually from what was looking last week, and there I was saying, well, this is starting to look bullish. Now we're seeing we're seeing it quickly fall back into sort of the range. This almost it is a sub 20,000 range again. So looking just that, just looking quite soft, and not having managed to catch any benefit from yesterday's sort of weaker dollar. Ethereum. Divergence across the top there, same sort of thing. It's just, as I say, a lot of these markets just failing to, and Ripple was okay, it hadn't been the strongest, but they were failing yesterday, failing again today. Looking through Cardano, and it's just as if someone's turned the switch off again, and it's completely all sell. Solana, BNB, Binance. Okay, Binance has been holding better, but it's got some big old range there relatively. And Chainlink again. Chainlink was one of the exceptions. It held up better, and pretty close to the highs from earlier in the year. They're back in August, so not far away from the highs. But again, sold off so far this morning. It's caught a bit of a bounce off these lows, but like as I say, likes of Bitcoin really struggling there at the moment. Looking at the indices, well, the CSI 300 talked about this 34 yesterday, the daily 34, where it's still stuffed around that at the moment. And it's closed down today. A break of today's lows running into tomorrow. I would expect a bit more downside potentially. The Nikkei, well, it accelerated again, another big gap up, of course, but it's accelerated again, much more positive than it has been. The Nifty 50 sitting there well above the prior highs from the earlier part, recent part of the year. I'm just looking to see where we're sitting. 18118. Oops. 18118. So we're above the year's highs, and we're sitting up there quite positively. As I said, this seems to be a market that seems to be pushing quite well. Morning, Cam. S&Ps, E-minis struggling, but doing its best to try and push up. They're off a bit this morning. We'll see if they can follow the suit of the Nikkei, but just again, sentiment wise, I've seen this sort of it's gone quite bullish on the S&Ps. It doesn't mean to say that the market's going to go up. It just means the sentiment's positive, and it sort of supports this original movement. It's just whether or not it can switch around and carry on this this wave that's looking okay unless it breaks the low, in which case I become quite bearish again. Dow Jones there as well. Dow Jones been leading the way somewhat. It's near divergence territory. You'll get sellers coming in there trying to sell it back off south. A solid break above that would be quite bullish. Well, be very bullish at the moment. Of course, one thing to bear in mind, of course, we've got the elections, midterm elections, and that could slow things down in the US. And leading into Friday, then we've got Armistice Day. Nasdaq, well, lower highs here. Really, it's just remaining on the softer side. I was looking to see what sort of bounce we got over the last couple of days, and really not moving too well. It still remains the poor relation. The CAC and the DAX both looking quite positive. Higher lows keep coming through here, and certainly looking on the positive side. FTSE just opened. FTSE's opened down this morning, quite a bit down there, and well, we'll see. It could just be a flag on the lower time frames, but at the moment it doesn't look particularly great. So there's plenty of reason to see weakness in these markets, particularly with the elections in the US and the chop that we're seeing elsewhere. So you just got to take it as it comes during the daytime. At the moment, as I said, it's all gone quite slow. I'm just watching to see what's happening on this Euro 60. It's trying to do something. Ended up in a doji on the previous, so maybe we'll get a little push up on there. Right, on that note, I wish you a great day's trading, and I'll catch you in the morning. Bye for now.